Good morning. This has been at the Brew. The Agent Brew. And this morning we are doing a live interview with a marketing social media expert by the name of Shon Christy. And I am excited to get to talk to Shon. Now, a little bit about what Agent Brew interview is. Agent Brew interview is where we bring on thought leaders, entrepreneurs, business thinkers, experts in many different fields, so we can then learn from them, have a great brew, have a little brew. So hopefully you've had your brew this morning. I know my brain doesn't work quite so quickly without my cup of coffee. Megan Hance, have you had your cup of coffee yet? Have you had your brew yet? You got kids, you had to. See, that's what I love is before I had kids, I was like, coffee was kind of that thing that was enjoyable. Now it's like if I don't have it, I don't know what I'm going to do throughout the day. But we're going to be bringing on Shon Christy in just a minute and asking him questions about this Facebook algorithm change 2018. Oh, Megan, you don't drink coffee? So I'll just take a moment of silence. Megan, I don't know how you have children and don't drink coffee. That's a travesty. But I'm not judging too much. But we're going to be bringing Shon on in just a minute. And really what we're looking at is Mr. Zuckerberg, or Zuck as I like to call him. He put this post out talking about this new algorithm change. And it's really interesting because personally, reading through it, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, Facebook is not going to be, like, annoying. Does anybody feel that way? Where it's like, oh my gosh, like, it used to be something of connecting with people. Now I feel like everybody's just trying to sell me something, which is fine. But it's kind of edged me out, especially being a millennial. I know most of my friends that are millennials are like, I try to stay away from Facebook. So my hope personally is that this actually does create more personal connections and that it does foster more community involvement. So with that, a little bit of a quote from Mr. Zuck. He says, posts from businesses, brands, and media is crowding out the personal moments that lead us to connect more with each other. And that's one of the things we want to do here is we want to personally connect with you. Like I said, this has been with the Agent Brew, and we are talking to Shon Christy, and we are excited to get to talk to him. I don't know who just gave a like, but thank you for that like. John Horst, good to see you. Very good to see you, John. We are excited to talk to you today. You guys ready to bring on Shon Christy? I feel like I should have a little bit of like a sound check. Actually, funny story about Shon Christy. First time I came and met him, I walk in and he's like, oh, it's Ed Sheeran. Can I tell you how many times I've heard that? Guys, Google a picture of Ed Sheeran. I'm a redhead with black glasses. That's pretty much the only connection. Tyler Jensen, welcome, my friend. Let's go ahead and bring on Shon Christy and we can talk a little bit more about all of that. All right. Oh, it says I can't bring Shon Christy on camera. They can't join the broadcast at this time. Oh, this is interesting. Especially because you are our guest, Shon Christy. Mind putting a little comment in there, my friend? Are you connected to the internet? The interweb, as it were, the net from the 90s. AOL, you got mail. But yeah, just to foster a little bit of this conversation while we're figuring out where Shon is, I want to talk. I'm here, brother. The net is live. Oh, that's good. It says I can't Facebook Live you, which kind of is puts a little interesting thing on interviewing you, don't you think? My question is, this would actually be a good example of some of the algorithm changes that are happening with Facebook. So you can't actually do a Facebook Live interview from a business page. And that part of that is actually, can't wait to hear Shon Shon can help. Facebook is totally boxing business. You're right. It is boxing business pages out where we can't do that. So you are on there, my friend, but it is saying that you cannot come on live with me. So, that's good. I'm excited about that. I can bring on a bunch. No similarities, Ben. Yeah, that's right. No similarities with Ed Sheeran. That is for sure. Maybe a question for you, Shon, is this is something that I've read about Facebook Live. Are you using an iPhone? That might actually affect it a little bit. And worst comes to worse, we can actually do a audio interview with Shon Christy through other means. I'm on my computer. Jump on your phone if you could, Shon. That would be the best way to do it. While we're doing that, I just want you guys to listen to something. I don't even think There it is. You know who that is? Hey, there we go. There, I'll keep that going. All right. On my phone, Shon Christy, baby. Here we go. Adding Shon Christy as we speak while we listen to Ed, or as I like to call, Cousin Eddie.
Sir!
What's up, Shon?
What's up, man?
Oh, dude, looking good. Look, did you shave this morning?
I did. You like that?
Yeah, look at that. Just leave it up there for a second. I just want to see what everything else is happening in that room. Wow. That is beautiful, my friend. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. Got a little bit of a cold. But other than that, I am doing great. So one thing I'd love to hear about as we're jumping into this whole thing about Facebook and all that, what is your background with marketing? How'd you get into social media work?
So I got into social media work, Ben, quite by accident. In 2010, shortly after I finished my master's degree, my college students that I work with at the University of Akron actually got me onto Facebook. I had no clue what it was, but that's how they all communicated. And so I got involved with it just for communication with them. And then when my little guy was born, he was born Down syndrome, and he had some other health challenges. And my wife at that point wanted to stay in the hospital, make sure that he healed well. And, I told her, quit your job, we'll figure it out. I quit my job, and I figured, what am I going to do? It's got to be something around marketing. It's all I've ever done. And we had put a little post out there, hey, Beckett was born. He has some health challenges. We're doing this fundraiser for him, and we got $5,000 overnight, essentially. And it was kind of crowdfunding before crowdfunding was crowdfunding.
And what year was this in Shon?
2010.
Oh yeah, lots has changed since
then.
Yeah,
lots has changed. So I was like, well, I started Googling social media companies, social media company Akron, social media company Cleveland. I started searching social media companies across the country, and the only one that I could actually find was a company called Likeable Media. There was a guy, Dave Kirpin, who started that, and he's a pretty well-known social media guy nationally. And I thought, well, if nobody's doing it, this seems like a niche that might make sense. And I've never raised $200, let alone $5,000. And so I figured, let's do this social media company. And so we actually opened up the first niche social media company in 2010 in the state of Ohio. And I've been doing it ever since.
Never looked back, right?
Never looked back.
So you said now this was your was it son or daughter in the hospital? All that going on. How many kids do you have? How long you been married? Just a little bit about that, because it sounds like that's a driving factor in jumping into social media.
Sure. So I've got number 6 on the way, Ben. Here in the next couple weeks. Yeah, we'll have 5 girls and a boy. Married to my lovely wife, Brittany. Yeah. Got a house full of girls, so that's always a good time.
Here is for Brittany, right here, man.
54 kids, huh, Mark Young?
No, I think it was just 6, but yeah, that would be a lot more.
I'm good.
6 kids. Wow. I came from a family of 5, and you always got somebody to fight with, always somebody to play with, which is fun. But you have a boy there at the end. What are you thinking with that?
I have a boy right in the middle. He's smack dab in the middle of him. He's a rock star, Beckett.
Oh, I bet, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, let's jump in then talking about this whole algorithm change. That's what we're talking about today. And I've started to notice this actually really fast in 2018. The things that used to work on social media for businesses don't work anymore.
Yeah, slowly but surely. And I think you started it out on the right foot, Ben, with looking at the quotes from Zuckerberg. And so this is all spurred by research, but you and I and everybody watching, we've all seen it kind of coming. As businesses, said, hey, this is a free tool where we can just market. Everybody floods to Facebook and other social media platforms so they can just sell whatever they want to sell. You referenced it earlier. And the research shows that people are happy when they're connecting with others and having conversations around it. And so they just decided, look, instead of just posting all these videos and getting all this stuff from businesses, we're just kind of liking and passing through it or getting annoyed that we're seeing it. They want to remove that stuff from the feed. So you're not going to see those cute little videos, the car karaoke videos or people dancing, all the funny stuff. That stuff is going to go away. They just found that the research shows that stuff, while it's entertaining, it's not good for our well-being. And so in that quote that Zuckerberg put out there on the 11th of January, he said, that stuff's going away. Businesses, brands, publishers, a lot of that's going to be removed from the newsfeed. And he gave the directive to his product team and the newsfeed group to start removing that. And so you're going to have to work a lot harder to get in the feed. And this is going to be a stumbling block because it's going to change a paradigm shift in the way marketers think and how they act on Facebook. And they're going to have to spend either significantly more time being creative, or they're going to have to pay to promote. And I don't think that this is just a pay to play scenario, which I'm hearing a lot from people. It's just going to make people work for it. And right now people think that social media is just a place where you have to check the box that you posted for Tuesday and then you walk away from it, when it's actually a real-time thing. I think you're going to start to see either companies get out of it and just kind of abandon, or you're going to see companies significantly invest, whether that's with an agency or it's with a full-time person on their staff to do that.
Yeah, so what you're saying, I love, you actually wrote a blog the other day looking through it. I love what you said about it. You're like, you have this social media end of times narrative going on where it's like, what do we do? Like, in some regards, it sounds like we've been spoiled for the last number of years, and now Facebook is responding, and it's either we innovate or we are completely forgotten. So a couple questions for you with that. What does innovation look like in 2018 to respond to this algorithm?
Well, so content's always been important, right? But instead of just putting the content that we want to push out to people, we really have to focus on what do people need. And it's something that I've always believed in. I think it's just the right thing to do personally, but have it be customer-centric or client-centric social media content rather than self-serving social media content. So when you put your customer first, you're going to get the responses, and you need to put posts out there that don't just provide information, Ben. It's got to be stuff that gets people talking. And so what we're thinking, and again, everyone, this is, we're going to test and we're going to see what works. Nobody's got the crystal ball, but what it looks like is they're going to value comments, not likes. So getting people to comment or getting people just to like your post is not going to be enough. So those cute videos of the car karaoke that 1,000 people click like on, that it's meaningless. It looks like it's going to be the conversations back and forth. And so getting people to leave comments, not only just comments like yes or no, or just one-word answers, they're looking for dialogue and a back and forth. And so I think where brands, company pages are going to win is to be able to engage their following in a back and forth dialogue that's meaningful, long comments. So focus more on those things. I also think that companies that have employees and teams that are engaged on social media, if they engage them the right way to jump into those conversations on their personal pages and have back and forth conversation. I think that will go a long way as well in boosting the reach of those particular pieces of content.
Well, fantastic, man. And well, kind of in the spirit of that, guys that have just jumped on, I saw Jeremy Powell, Matt Stoffer, Matt Clark Stoffer. Apparently, that's your middle name. I love Jeremy Powell. He's like, Shon Christy is right here. Nico, is that how you say your name? I don't know. As a part of that, let's actually just, if you guys want to ask questions, that's the thing. We want to foster community conversation. So looks like Shon actually jumped off for a second. So let's gather a couple of those before we bring Shon back on. Questions for Shon. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you noticed these changes in Facebook's algorithm? Have you noticed kind of being booted out? Shon Christy's a legend. Very good, Jeremy Powell. Who earlier was talking about this? How about Mark Shackelford? If you're still on, man, what kind of thoughts have you seen within social media? So I'm talking to Stephen Rubaker as well. Wonderful. Valerie Bogart is on there. Great. Andy Piercy, good to see you. We already talked to Mark Young, Ken Shurock. Hello. And we will bring Shon on in just a minute, but I want to collect really some questions about social media and what you're seeing. Oh, here we go. Shon got booted for a second, so we'll bring you back on in just a minute, my friend. Rose actually has a great comment here. It says, for a new page still establishing followers, it's hard getting posts seen, let alone getting comments. Would a pixel help with this? And what Rose is referring to is a connection with your website. So let me see if I can bring Shon back on. Shon, bringing you back on. Shon Christy. Nate, welcome. We are talking with Shon Christy, social media expert, kind of fell into doing social media work, noticed a big response to a personal thing going on, and has never looked back, jumped right in. One thing to try, Shon, if you are jumping on here, my friend, is actually just setting down your phone. Sometimes the internet.
There we go.
Shon Christy.
Sorry about that.
All right, my friends. No, totally cool, man. So Rose asked this question. It says, for new pages still establishing followers, it's hard getting posts seen, let alone getting comments. So we're talking about engagement, comments.
Sure.
Would a pixel help with this?
So Rose is referring to some paid advertising method. Absolutely. So that's a paid advertising strategy, putting a pixel on your website and retargeting people that have already been there is a great tool. Your email lists, if you have cell phone numbers, you can scrub those against Facebook and use that in your paid advertising strategy. So if you've been collecting emails as a business or you have cell phone numbers in your CRM, those would be ways that I would tackle getting some new people to see your content and engage with them. Absolutely, Rose.
So practically you're saying try to find the most direct form of communication. Is that what we're saying?
Well, yeah, that's direct because it's paid advertising. So as you're trying to establish a Facebook presence and you're going to make that key, make sure that you have some strategies on the front end.
Great,
well,
great. Again, guys, oh, go ahead.
She has organic tips. Are you stuck into if you get people? So there's the see first functionality. So for those of you that don't know, there's a way that you can get people to see your content always if you get them to see first. So you just have to put that out there as you're growing your followings to have them click see first like you would do for all of your friends. Rose, another thing that I might try, and we're leveraging this, is the Facebook group functionality. So there may be some different things that you could do. I referenced in the blog that I wrote on LinkedIn a group that we're working with in Boston, Lumind RDS. It's a nonprofit foundation for Down syndrome cognition research. they actually have private groups for their fundraisers. So they've got a runners program, and they're putting out a lot of content. And that's probably going to be a way where you can get people to see because of the notification settings in the groups. So that would be another strategy. If you've got different things that your business does, like Agent Brew, for example, you might have a mastermind group, and you might have private conversations back there and give specific content in the group format. So those would be probably two easy things that you could tackle initially to see how they go. And then again, if you have a team, make sure that they know what your social media strategy is, why you're doing that particular strategy, and how they can impact your social media following. So those closest to you, either from an employment perspective or your friends, figure out ways to mobilize the people closest to you to support that content and help them spider it out and share it.
Nice. So just to ask you personally, like, how do you personally feel about this change? Is it something where you're like, oh shoot, my job just got harder? Sure. Or is it something that you're excited about?
I'm excited about it. So this is going to weed you're welcome, Rose. This is going to weed the crappy marketers out. So I'm really excited about it. And while it's much more difficult, strategy becomes paramount. And most companies, I've probably worked with over 600 companies internationally, and only 3 companies that I've ever worked with actually had any kind of a strategy document. And so that's a key, oh, social media doesn't work. Oh, it's pay to play. What is your strategy? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And when you can't answer those foundational, simple questions, it's no wonder that you've got a real challenge in driving results via social media. Cream always rises to the top.
Yeah, Jeremy Powell. It's one of those things that it's like, if you're not shooting for anything, you're going to hit it every time.
Every single time.
And companies and brands have just gotten, and could we say that they've gotten lazy? Is that too far?
No, I think they've totally gotten lazy. They're checking the box, they're phoning it in. And so in that blog, I also reference, today's National Pizza Day, today's National Coffee Day. I mean, and everybody's talking about that. Oh, okay. Well, what does that do for me? How is that helpful to me? And that's how they're filling up their social media marketing calendar. And so this is really going to make brands think in what they do. And sometimes less is more. And so instead of having to post every single day, maybe you post less. Maybe you post 3 times instead of 7 times, but you post things that are impactful and things that people need, instead of just posting to check the box that it's done this day. And I always see that, Ben. People, hey, it's Terrific Tuesday, it's Wacky Wednesday, and they just post something to post because they want their brand to be in front of people. That could actually do more harm than good, I think.
Yeah. And once again, for those who just jumped on, I'm with Shon Christy. He is a social media expert, been in marketing for almost 20 years. And please just put questions in there. We'd love to answer that, talk to you guys about it, especially. So just to ask, as small businesses, so let's talk about two kind of businesses, like small businesses and large businesses. How are small businesses actually set up better for this than large brands?
I think small businesses can be more nimble. They can be more authentic. And I think they're just more connected to their community. And I think people want to support small companies. I mean, these are your neighbors. You have Small Business Saturday. So I think small businesses are poised for excellence just because of the nature of what they are. They're regional companies for the most part, where they're out in the communities. And there's this business page opportunity, but people forget about their personal pages on Facebook. I actually get way more interaction from my personal pages historically than I ever did just through my business page. Business pages, I think, are a must because the paid advertising opportunities. We talked about the pixel, and we talked about some of the different opportunities that are there. But the personal pages go much farther because we do business with people that we know, like, and trust. And so if we're just a faceless business, it becomes a little bit harder to build that know, like, and trust. It takes a significant amount of more time. But we as individuals can go out there and network and support and just be out there to make connections one-on-one. And does it take a much longer time? Yes. But do I think it's more impactful? Yes. And then you can send people back to your business pages after you've built some value with them individually and personally.
it's that thing of trust, and it's just relationship. I love, there was a lady that was reading her book, her name just totally went from my mind, but she was saying with social media, if you can actually just go back to the definition of social, you'll set
Right.
things just like,
Right.
because it's like if Shon, if you and I were at a party, and let's just say I'm the bad marketing person. I walk up and say, "Hey, you want to see this thing? Well, what's your name?
Right.
Like, what?
Right.
Who are you? Why should I care about your cat video?" I love it. So Nate Spickard? You think Spickard's the right way to say that, Shon?
Sure.
All right. So his question is, what tools would you recommend to help with social media strategy? And what advice would you give to someone starting a new social media company? And I think that's all he said. He said F dot 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 dot. I'm not sure what that F means, but
So from a strategy perspective, I think it's steps. And so I have a simple formula, and I always start with goals. And we can't achieve a ton of things, but if we achieved a handful of things, what would that look like? So for me, we focus on 3 key goals whenever I'm crafting a strategy. What do we want to accomplish? 1, 2, 3, right? And so goals are foundational to everything that we do. So I start with goals, and then we talk about the measurement of those goals. So SMART goals, right? We need to make sure that these are measurable goals. How do we know when we've won or lost? And so it becomes tricky with social media because sometimes people will talk about things like brand awareness. If it's sales, we want to increase sales. Well, okay, we want to make another $500,000 this year. We can track that. We can look at our P&L and know if we're profitable. But sometimes the measurement of brand awareness gets a little bit dicey. It's hard to track. And so how do you do that? In our universe, when people say things like that, we might use metrics like reach. We might specifically look at blog reads if we're trying to be a leader in research. We might put educational content out there and track the views on that specific educational content. So once we know what we're trying to accomplish, how we know if we're winning or losing, then we go to the next piece, which is who's the audience? And then we do a process called audience mapping. What's important? Who are these people? What's important to these people? What do they need to believe to be able to move them to the next kind of stage? And then from there, we analyze that. So here's the stuff that we're going to do tactically to drive whatever those points are from the goals and with that audience. And then we measure and we analyze the results. And then it's kind of, measure, test things out, and then make adjustments if things are not where we want them to be. And if they are, we throw a little bit more gasoline on that fire.
Yeah, and even thinking about gasoline, one of the things you want with metrics when it comes to at social media or business strategy, anything is a way to know where your gauges are. Just like a car, you look down, you're like, oh shoot, I need to get gas pretty soon.
Yep.
But if you're just driving, you're going to run out at some point, right?
Sure.
So, okay, we just Aaron jump on, which is awesome. We had Mark Bach jump on. Welcome. We are with Shon Christy. He has been in marketing for the past almost 20 years and kind of stumbled on social media, as I kind of feel like we all did. I don't think social media was something that anybody was like, hey, Billy, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, well, I want to be a social media expert. Well, nowadays, right. I guess you can be.
Right.
But for us, it was, marketing it was something different. And it's so, oh my goodness, it's so quickly changing. Let's look at Rose's next question. So it says, with the personal page, do you recommend using family/friends and acquaintance type groups if you're not comfortable with sharing all your posts? So maybe just to put a practical thing on that, like here's a picture of my, your new baby. Like,
right.
Is that something that you post to all these random followers?
So I try to build relationship with people. And again, there's no one way to do this, Ben. So it's really, what is your comfort level? Social media is social and it's very personal. And so, when I have these conversations around, how I do things, how I've seen it work for me, and that doesn't mean that it'll work or be comfortable for everybody else. But I highly leverage all my personal profiles, and I don't have any issues with those things, but I know a lot of people do. And so, maybe leveraging your personal Facebook page is not the way. Maybe you're more active on Twitter, or you leverage LinkedIn that's a little bit more professional. So I know that we're kind of talking about the Facebook algorithm changes, but one of the other opportunities here is that I think people are going to be more active on the other platforms. And so I think it's important to take a look at some of the other platforms, and maybe if you don't have that same comfort level on Facebook, maybe you move some of those conversations, spend a little bit more time on other social media properties like LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter, for example.
Oh, that's awesome. So coming back actually to the algorithm, some of the things that Zuck was saying was, at its best, Facebook has always been about personal connections by focusing on bringing people closer together.
Sure.
So what would you have to say to that?
Well, I mean, that's the goal of it, right? So we're making connections. We add a friend on Facebook, right? We follow people on Twitter, and that's what it's really all about. And so you're seeing things like people asking for recommendations. So if you're a local business, you need to have your tribe, your group of people ready to say, hey, Mark Young is my guy when it comes to real estate. And so you probably see it every single day in your feed, the looking for recommendations in the news feed. It's a way for us to kind of crowdsource information on businesses. And we want to make sure that our population knows to respond, and we want to reward with those people, or we want to reward those people when they do that and make sure we're part of the conversation. So just imagine this. Somebody's asking for real estate agents. 50 people pop in who their real estate agent is, because we know that it's a very competitive landscape there. But only one or two of those real estate agents are even on Facebook paying attention and jumping in and saying, hey, be careful, Twitter is a war zone. Only when you're talking about the Browns, Jeremy Powell, or the 0-16 parade. But you want to arm your audience. You want to be there to respond when your group tags you, and you want to be there on a personal level too, not just via business. So if you can add value to somebody, I always look to do two things: help people achieve their goals and objectives, whatever that is, and it may have nothing to do with social media, and remove obstacles and roadblocks that they have. And I feel like if I use social media as a tool to do that, I'm being successful, and that's a way that I gauge success. It may not have, and most of the time, it doesn't have anything to do with my particular business.
Huge. So it really is treating it as a social environment. And I like even just to tie in what you said earlier with LinkedIn and the war zone of Twitter, as Jeremy Powell would say. Some of those are framed differently than Facebook.
Sure.
And what we're saying, Facebook in 2018 is getting back to kind of its roots with it being a social environment. How have you seen, because I can think of a bunch of things, how have you seen this going very poorly the last couple of years with, you said it earlier, kind of not very good marketing? Let's just rant for a minute, man. I just want to bring it out of you, Shon. Like, get all your angst out when it comes to, guys, stop doing, and I'd love for you to answer that.
Sure. Well, so when I started in 2010, everything that you put out there was seen in the feed. And so the pages that I've managed for 8 years, you've seen a significant shift in the way that things have been. So they've been going this direction for a long time in the algorithm. There was a time when the tactic was, and businesses will always find a way to screw it up. There was a time when businesses could tag. They will. There's always somebody out there ready to ruin a good thing for everyone else. But
take note. We'll screw it up.
We'll screw it up. We'll do it. But there was a time when you could tag anybody that you wanted to on a business page. And so you probably see those Ray-Ban tags. That's why people's personal accounts are getting hacked. And then, hey, click here for the free Ray-Bans. You probably see those a lot and those types of things. So that's something that people used to do that they got away from. Another thing that I hate is, and I kind of already referenced it earlier, probably the worst thing is that you're phoning it in. Today's National Coffee Day, and you're a manufacturing company, and then it's Wacky Wednesday the next day. If every day is a theme day, just to make it easy for you, and you're auto posting it, that's just not going to work. Social media is it's real time, it's relevant, and it's customer client centric. And if you follow that rule, then you will be successful. And if you're just phoning it in and trying to get by, hey, I'm gonna just get an intern to come in, 5 hours a week and create some content, and then I'm just going to schedule it and put it out there. That's not going to work for you. And people that try to find softwares that will push everything to every platform from one place because they want to shortcut it. That does not work, and the algorithms look at that. Video has been something that we've talked a lot about over the last year or two, and that's been hot. One thing we haven't talked about that I think is going to be really important is not just video, but this, Ben. And I kind of asked you in a private message, are you doing things to test the algorithm right now? Because live video is probably going to be one of the most important things that an organization does. And so I commend you for being on top of that, and the way that you have the back and forth with the people in the audience, I think is going to be really important. So those would be the types of things that I would focus on, not just video, because remember, it looks like just clicking like is not going to do it for your brand. You're going to have to get people talking. So that's what I would really focus on doing. And if you're not sure, and this is another thing that I can't believe companies don't do, if you don't know what your audience wants, what should you do? You should ask them. Well, how many times do we ask our audience, what do they want? Almost never. Yeah. I mean, almost never. We just say what we want to say or whatever agenda we want to push, and that's what content is. And it should be quite the opposite. We should be talking to our audience and finding out what they need more of.
Yeah, I used to always hear, assuming will, yeah, the saying, but like you don't assume that on your audience, because, and thank you by the way, this is very fun, and I appreciate you, Shon, being able to jump on here and really trying this, because it's not that this is new, but I don't think that businesses are comfy yet with it.
Sure.
Here we go. Nate Spickard, what do you think of Hootsuite? So we just talked about this for a second ago about this, like shooting out content that you share across all social medias. So what do you think about Hootsuite to manage pages?
So hold on one sec. Sorry, guys. Somebody's at my front door. I got to close it up.
Hey, you can bring us to the front door. We'll wave and say hi.
Say, hello, who's here? So I think management platforms are good, especially if you're managing multiple platforms. Hootsuite is something that we teach our students at the University of Akron. We actually have Hootsuite University just to get them kind of on board with a management platform. The more pages you run, the more that becomes critical, because you need some efficiencies in your content production. One thing we haven't talked about, Nate, is social listening. So tools like that also give you a listening component and an analytical component. So those are the types of things that we want to pay close attention to. Hootsuite is good. I prefer Sprout Social for a tool. It's sproutsocial.com if you want to check that out. I was part of their agency program, and all the groups that I've worked with over the last probably 5 years, we've leveraged that platform. And it just seems like they're innovators in the space. And so if we've had comments or things that we'd like to see out of the platform, they've been quick to respond.
That's awesome. So check out, what was it? It was
Sprout.
Sprout.com. Awesome. So it looks like Bradley Deeds Creek, a friend of mine, just jumped on. He actually connects with what's the generation that's below the millennials? I don't even know if we've named them yet. I don't know who gets to say that's the name, but they haven't yet. But he gets to connect with them on social media a lot, which is awesome. So once again, I'm talking to Shon Christy. He's almost 20 years worth of marketing, kind of fell into social media like the rest of us. And I really do feel like that's something that's happened with businesses, where it's almost like, well, that the kids are doing it.
Right.
Like the kids are on there. And I had a friend of mine actually use this analogy, and I love it, was about having a billboard in the middle of a desert. And talking about how marketing, if you don't use that well, and let's just apply that then to the way that Facebook is blocking out that and putting, basically your business page is being put into a desert.
Yep.
How do you get from the desert, to at least to Arizona? We're hoping to get to Las Vegas.
So you have to market your marketing, right? You have to point signs that show you the way to the desert. And so social media is an ingredient. It's not the entree. It's a quote that I heard a long time ago. And it's not a, hey, we're going to do this, Field of Dreams, everybody's going to come. You have to market it. And so you have to have a multifaceted marketing strategy. So it might be in person, it might be cause marketing where you're doing a lot of nonprofit stuff. Maybe it's event sponsorships. Maybe you're still doing, I've seen several companies that are still doing a great job with print media. There's just a lot of ways that you can get people engaged and then send them to your social media properties. How many times, Ben, do you see people that spend all this money on radio and on billboards, and they leave it at that? Why not send people back to your social media strategy in their profiles? That's what I would look at. How do you take what you're already doing from a marketing perspective and move people to your social media audience to get them engaged, whether it's hashtag campaigns or just, going to like a page and then giving them a reason why. One of the biggest you see on every single advertisement, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. How many times does somebody tell you why? Why should I follow you? Should I follow you just so I can get spammed with your marketing crap that I don't want? Or are you going to give me some real value? And if you're giving real value, it'll work for you.
There's so much truth in that, because it's almost like people are like, well, I'm on the channel, I'm cool with you guys. It's like, look, I don't want to talk to you. Like, just because you have a place I can give you my email does not mean I'm going to give you my email, And I think coming back to that thing of value in communication is huge. And what we're seeing is the personal value you can bring to a person. That's just good business strategy. It's just good sales. So I guess we don't need to be terrified by this new algorithm, even though I know I'm sure a lot of people are having those moments where they're like, oh shoot, what do I do? This worked. What we need to do is respond, and we need to respond in such a way that actually works. So I know we've been talking about that in general. Again, if you just jumped on, I'm with Shon Christy, social media expert. Please ask any other questions. Actually, we got one from Rose down here. And are sharing hashtags still relevant on Facebook for hashtag campaigns?
I think hashtags are going to be more relevant on platforms like LinkedIn, surprisingly. Obviously, Twitter and Instagram, they're front and center, but I don't think as much on Facebook.
Good deal. Let me see. I think Rose had one other one earlier. It says, what is a reasonable, this is very practical. What is a reasonable budget for campaigns to get out there and get your page known? Because what we're hearing from Facebook constantly is, well, just pay more. Just boost your stuff. And it's like, well, if it's not actually getting out there, it doesn't matter.
Right. I think you always have to start with why. Why do you need more people to follow your page? And so sometimes we put too much emphasis on numbers just for numbers' sake, and there's no rationale why. So again, go back to those 3 goals on the strategy side. What do we want to accomplish? 1, 2, and 3. And if we don't necessarily need to have the following to do that, then we probably don't want to invest a ton in that. But sometimes it's important to. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on, guys.
So Shon has actually set all of us down. We just had Jonathan Radeball, known as John Radeball, great guitarist, on there. Who else jumped recently? Linda Parker. Hi, Linda. Joe Pryor, good to see you. We are all trying to figure out Facebook. It's not as easy as it used to be, for sure. And so far what we're hearing is the more personal, the better. So Shon Christy is living it right now, my friends. Jeff Sitz, what's up, man? Stephen Carter. But yes, you are living, Shon, the personal side of Facebook right now. So what just happened?
That was the cleaning company is here, and I forgot that they were coming at 9:30. So they've been sitting out in the cold. They were sitting out in the cold as I'm just sitting here talking. So that's awesome. Well done, Shon.
Hey man, you know what, we've all been there. That is for sure. And as a personal note, I'm going to take a cough drop, because I don't know about you guys, but once one kid gets sick, we all get sick. There's no fun at all. So we got Jeff Sitz on here. I would actually love to hear what you're thinking about.
1 or 2 more questions, and then I've got a 10 o'clock, so I got to run here in a minute. But if there's any questions out there in the audience that I could be helpful with, or there's anything we need more clarification on. I want to make sure that the group gets a ton of value out of their time today, and just say thank you to everybody for tuning in.
Awesome. Yeah, great. And while they're bringing in those questions, Shon, where can people learn more about you and the services that you provide?
Sure. So our new website's about to launch. We've got probably another week. It'll be ShonChristy.com. But I highly recommend, and I know some of you watching are already connected to me on Facebook and LinkedIn, but any of my social media properties. So I connect with friends, clients, soon-to-be friends on social media. So feel free to send me a friend request on Facebook. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, and it's just at Shon Christy for all of them. ShonChristy. Shon Christy. Would love to connect, and if I can be helpful, never hesitate to reach out with questions, comments, where my barber is. I can help you out.
No, that's awesome. So it looks like most of our questions have been asked. Just to ask one more question then, and then we can be off for now. Thank you for joining the Agent Brew. Again, make sure to check out agentbrew.com, where we are giving real estate agents advice as well as other businesses. And you can check that out, like I said, agentbrew.com. Do you use coffee?
Jeff uses the same barber.
Does Jeff use the same barber?
He does. He does. It's a good-looking dude.
Shout out to the barber, man. Now, do you drink coffee though? And if so, what's your favorite kind?
Jeff or me?
Oh, you. Jeff can drink his own coffee. I want to know what Shon Christy drinks.
I'm a Starbucks for random kind of guy. Also, Zips for Haiti coffee from the Leadership Institute at the University of Akron, which you can buy at Compass Coffee in Akron.
Ooh.
Brewed by Akron Coffee Roasters. Yeah, buddy.
We'll put a link in for Shon's blog. Shon, thank you again, man. Have a great.
You too. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Later, Shon. All right, so big things that we learned here on the Agent Brew is wonderful things. This whole algorithm change is actually pushing businesses and specifically marketers into being more personal. So please comment below, give your 2 cents on it, on how can you be more personal. If you are a real estate agent, please put that on there. If you're a business owner, we'd love to learn from you, entrepreneur, and just go ahead and put how you can be personal on Facebook in 2018. Again, this is Ben at The Brew. Make sure to check out agentbrew.com. Like us on Facebook and all those things, Instagram. Make sure to drink some coffee today. Agent Brew. See you guys.